We had some questions that were asked by some of our friends in the community. I want to share some questions with you. Number one, he asked about the issue of drinking coffee, in the shul, in the Bet Knesset. So the question is, when is it allowed to drink coffee, when not? We have Baruch Hashem. We have in the back over there coffee, right? We have everything. Everything's good. But the question is, when is it allowed, when it's not allowed? When do you bless on it? When you're allowed to make a blessing, the bracha? When you cannot make the blessing? So he doesn't like it. This guy that I spoke to, he doesn't like that they drink coffee in the shul because it says it's not respectful for the shul. Not respectful when they're praying. I told him, I said, it's okay. Look, halakha. Sometimes halakha allows to drink coffee in the shul. So I explained to him when that's allowed. Not only in the shul, but also before prayers, during the prayers. The truth is, that I must tell you, it says in the Shulchan Aruch that in the Bet Knesset, lo ochlim v'lo shotim. It says you shouldn't drink and eat in the Bet Knesset. That's what it says in the Shulchan Aruch. Lo ochlim v'lo shotim. Not this and not that. Why? Why is that? What's the reason why? It's not respect for Bet Knesset. It's not a dining room. It's not a living room. It's not a kitchen. It's for prayers. It's for kedusha. So what business do you have over there to drink and eat? What does it have to do one with the other? It's not kavod. That's what it says in the Shulchan Aruch. So then, how do we drink and eat in the shul? We have kiddush. We have this. We have yortzeit. We have all kinds of things. We have seudah shlishit. All kinds of things that we do in the Bet Knesset. How do we do all these things if that's the case? That's the question. So let's try to understand a little bit, right? What the story is. Number one, first of all, as we said, right, that's what the Shulchan Aruch says. You're not allowed to. But there's one interesting thing, that it says in the poskim regarding this that when a Bet Knesset is built, you can make a tanai. You can make a condition. Tanai. What does that mean, tanai? Mm-hmm. You say that we're going to have also here seudot and eat and drink. We're going to have all kinds of things. So if you make a tanai like this before you build the shul, it's mo'il. It helps that now you can do other things also in the shul, besides to pray, besides to say Divrei Torah. So if a tanai was made, this is good. Like, for instance, we have at the Georgian shul, over there, downstairs, where we have the Netz Minyan, we have over there downstairs, that place, that downstairs room there, it wasn't built to be a shul there. It was made to be like a dining room or whatever, some catering. It wasn't made to be a shul. Later on, they made it into a shul, to make a second minyan. That's what happened. But it wasn't really built to be a shul. So for sure, a room like that, there's already tanai. What does that mean? That it wasn't made for prayers. Now it's a Bet Knesset. It's true. It has a kedusha Bet Knesset. But there's a tanai there that before that they made it to Bet Knesset, they were eating and drinking there. So therefore, right, it's more lenient. It's more possible to be lenient in a case like that. Some say, by the way, it's interesting. You cannot make it tonight. In Eretz Israel, you cannot make it tonight. There are some poskim who write like this. It says in the Mishnah Berurah, if you build a Bet Knesset in Eretz Israel, over there, no more tonight. You cannot do tonight because over there there's more kedusha. In the Bet Knesset, it's a higher level of kedusha over there, not the level that we have over here. They say, by the way, I heard from some rabbis. They told me that the kedusha of the Bet Knesset over here is like the kedusha of Eretz Israel over there, not Bet Knesset. Just Eretz Israel, stam, in the streets, Same kedusha, can you imagine? So Eretz Israel is very kadosh. The Bet Knesset over here is the same as Eretz Israel over there, in the streets. There's a Shekhinah over there in Eretz Israel. Shekhinah, makom Shekhinah. If you live there, or you visited there, you probably feel it, if you have a good neshama, you feel that over there. That's the way it is. So when you make a Bet Knesset over there in Eretz Israel, it's a higher level than here. It's even more kedusha, even more shechina. So therefore, there are some poskim who say you cannot do tonight in Eretz Israel. So the question is, then how do we do it? What's the story? So the truth is, that also says in the Shulchan Aruch something interesting. It says that a person is allowed to Talmidei Chachamim and their Talmidim are allowed to eat in the Bet Midrash, Bet Knesset. They're allowed to eat there. What's the reason why? Because they're learning Torah. So because they're learning Torah, sometimes they're learning Torah all day or half a day. If they have to go out every time to eat and drink, to drink a coffee, to drink a tea, it's going to be beautiful Torah. They're not going to be able to study like that, always stopping. I have to go out, I'm sorry, I have to eat over there, I have to drink over there outside. What do you mean outside? We're learning now Torah, there's no time to go outside now. If you go outside, it's going to be beautiful Torah. So this is one of the reasons why they do allow, the poskim, they write that if you're coming to a shiur Torah, in the Bet Knesset, right, and the Chacham is giving some drasha over there, so you're allowed to drink some drinks. Why? Because if you go out now, and have to drink outside, you're going to miss the Divrei Torah. It's going to be Bitul Torah. So this is the reason sometimes we allow that. What's the reason why you want to drink? Because if you don't drink, sometimes you can't listen to the Chacham. You're falling asleep. You're drowsy, so you need some caffeine. Some coffee, whatever, to wake up a little bit. Something, whatever, right? Or you need some water, because your mouth is dry. So if you're doing it in order that you should be able to learn Torah over there, to listen to the shiur, then it's allowed. This is what the halakha says, Bedochak, what does that mean, bedochak? Because that's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. Bedochak. We have no choice, because otherwise if we go outside, it's going to be bitul Torah. It's going to be worse. If I have to go home now, let's say I'm learning the Bet HaMidrash, right? If I have to go home now to eat every time, so I'm going to lose like 1 hour of Torah time, learning. Because I have to go back, come back. And then, in the house, there's a Yetzer Hara over there, Sometimes they tell you, wait, don't go back, stay here. We have some things for you, this, all of a sudden, right? You get distracted, and then you don't come back to learn anymore, So that's why it's better for Talmid Chacham, a person who's learning Torah, to eat in the Bet Knesset, because in the shul, or in the Bet Midrash, because otherwise it's going to be Bitul Torah for him. So this is also, the same idea. This is the reason why it's sometimes allowed. But also there's another thing, if a person, let's say, comes to Minyan, right, in the morning, and he's falling asleep, he didn't sleep so much, so good that last night he went to bed 2 o'clock in the morning, he's dizzy, so he grabs the coffee in order to wake up, so he's allowed to do that. Why? Because otherwise if he doesn't do that, he's not going to be able to pray, that's also the same thing, you understand? So therefore, if a person is drinking coffee in the shul, because he needs to wake up and he's asleep, he's tired, drowsy, he's allowed to do that also for that reason as well. That's the reason why sometimes you're allowed to do that in the shul, to drink coffee in the shul, to wake up for the tefillah, for the Torah, to be awake, to be alert. The same idea like that. You understand? So now the question is like this. Okay, fine. Sometimes we allow it, but what about before shachrit? Right before you pray shachrit, it says in Shulchan Aruch, you're not allowed to eat before you pray shachrit. Asur lechol. Why? Because first you have to go talk to Hashem, give kavod to Hashem, and then fill up your stomach. First ask for, whatever you need from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's a kavod. Not to first fill up your stomach, and be full, and then come and pray. What do you want to pray for? You're already full. You have no, that's not kavod. This is the reason why. So therefore they say, before you come for shachrit, don't eat in the house. First come and pray, and then when you finish, go and eat whatever you want, right? God bless you, right? Whatever it is. So the same thing applies in our situation as well, obviously. So, what about drinking? So, the truth is, that the Chazal say, it says in Talmud, it says in the Shulchan Aruch, you're allowed to drink water before you pray shachrit. Mayim is allowed, Right. So now here's the question, right? What about all these drinks that we have? Coffee, tea, cola, whatever, all kinds of things like this. Are you allowed to drink? Or what about orange juice? Are you allowed to drink orange juice before the tefillah? So the truth is, that now the minhag is to be lenient about this. They drink tea and coffee even with sugar. Even though the sugar is like really a food. So it wakes you up, it makes you stronger. The reason why we do it is because we want to wake up for the prayers. That's the reason why we allow. They say, that even there was, one big Rosh Yeshiva here in America. His name was Rabbi Kutler. He was in Lakewood. He was the one who built the Lakewood Yeshiva. So they say that he used to, in the morning, when he'd come for shachrit, he would have a cup of tea in his hands, and he would put like a cube of sugar in his mouth, and drink the tea like that, together, with a cube of sugar, drinking it down like this, So even he, big chacham like this, big tzaddik, he was a big tzaddik, Rav Kutler. He was a chacham gadol ador, one of the big people of the generation. So that even he used to be really lenient. So the truth is that Maran, Rav Shalom, he writes in his books, that you're allowed to drink coffee with sugar, tea with sugar. The question is only about milk, What about milk? Because milk is really like, it's like a food. A person can get a lot of energy from milk. So are you allowed to have coffee with milk or tea with milk? Also, whatever, same thing. So the truth is that Maran writes over there in his older books, when he was younger, he writes over there that you shouldn't drink coffee or tea with milk unless a person is very weak, old, like a little bit sick, doesn't have the energy, just so he needs to wake up a little bit. But if he's somebody who has a lot of energy and he's young, whatever, and is strong, you shouldn't drink that because this is already eating like a seudah a little bit, some real food. Milk is a real food. There are babies that live on that. Babies live on milk. You know what I mean? That's the way it is. So milk is something very nutritious. That has a lot of nutrition in there. So therefore they say that milk is not allowed. But the truth is, that if you're weak, if your person is not so strong, he's a little bit older, a little senior citizen, pensioner, this kind of thing. He needs a little bit, coffee, a little milk. It wakes him up. It gives him energy to pray. As we mentioned this morning, in the Georgian shul, we mentioned also that the truth is that the Shulchan Aruch says like this, that a person who is sick is allowed to eat before Shachrit. He's allowed. Why? Because he doesn't have energy. He feels bad. He doesn't have energy to pray. So this helps him to have energy to pray. So it says in the Shulchan Aruch that a person who's hungry and he's weak, and he can't pray because of that, he's considered to be like he's sick. Same thing. So therefore, if a person is weak, hungry, can't pray, has no energy, he is allowed to eat food, even a seudah. He's allowed to do that if he's this kind of person, who doesn't have energy, doesn't have koach. But most of us, Baruch Hashem, I think we're okay. We don't. So if you're okay and you don't need to eat before or whatever, so you shouldn't do it. When it comes to coffee and tea, the minhag is to be lenient, but to drink coffee and tea. But here's the thing, right? So fine, if you're doing it for that reason, to wake up, this is good, fine, no problem. Tea with sugar, coffee with sugar, maybe even milk, right, will allow you, if you're not so strong. Okay, fine, whatever. But now the question is, what about the bracha, right? Sometimes I see some people who are making the bracha, they're doing chazat hashatz, the chazan, like you just did now, right? 5 minutes ago. Chazat hashatz. So are you allowed to talk during chazat hashatz? Asur ledaber, right? You're not allowed to talk. So then also, if you're not allowed to talk, that means also you cannot make a bracha. So don't go back there and make a coffee, during chazat hashatz, and say, shakol niyavidvaro. What allowed you to do this, You're not allowed to talk at that time. So that means also, asur levarech, you're not allowed to also make a blessing. So what time are you allowed to make a bracha? In the morning, right, before Baruch Shamar, you're allowed to talk, right? But after Baruch Shamar, it's already asur ledaber. Until you finish the tachanun. You finish all the way tachanun, everything, right? Avinu Malkeinu, the whole thing, right? Avinu Ata, this whole thing, you finish the whole thing, and you say the Kaddish, then you're allowed to talk. Between Baruch Shamar and tachanun, asur ledaber. So therefore, you cannot also make a bracha, right? So what does the person have to do? He should make the bracha before Baruch Shamar, and then he can drink also a little bit later, He can drink more. Because now he doesn't need a bracha every time. But every time you take a sip, you make a bracha? You don't have to do that, right? It's a bracha l'batala chas v'shalom. So therefore, that's what a person should do. Make the bracha before Baruch Shamar, and then afterwards he can continue drinking. Because it's not hafsek, he's not talking, he's not saying any dibur, so therefore it's allowed, He's allowed to do that even in the Psukei de Zimra, and also on the Kriyat Shema, the brachot, he can take some sips, because he already made the bracha before. This is allowed, But as we said, right, that's for Shachrit. What about Mincha? So Mincha, once you start the Amidah, and then you do Chazat HaShatz, you finish the Tachanun, you're not allowed to also talk. Asur ledaber. So therefore you cannot make a bracha also there. So you have to wait. If you didn't make a bracha before, you have to wait and do it after. That's the only way to drink. If you want to drink some coffee, whatever it is, right, some tea, whatever it is. That's the way it is. Also, when we have Seudat Mitzvah, Seudat Shlishit is a big mitzvah, right? By the way, the Zohar Kadosh says, which is the most kadosh Seudah of Shabbat? Rishona, Shniya, or Shlishit? Shlishit says, right? It says Olam Atzilut. It's negative Olam Atzilut. The most kadosh is Seudah Shlishit. That's what it says in the Zohar Kadosh. Why is that? Why is that? By the way, you know why? Because you're doing it L'Shem Shemang. You're not even hungry anymore, right? You already had a big Seudah in the morning, so you're all full. Your stomach is like sticking out like this, right? And now you don't want to eat anymore. That's it. So you're doing Seudah Shlishit not because you're hungry, because you're doing a mitzvah. That's the only reason why. The Yetzer Hara comes to you and says to you, "What do you need to eat now? You're already full. Come on, forget about that." No, the most kadosh is Seudah Shlishit. That's the thing. So a person should try to eat Seudah Shlishit. Don't say, I'm full already. That's it. I'm patur, blah blah blah. All kinds of excuses like this. There are some communities, by the way, I heard even that they don't eat Seudah Shlishit. They say, we'll just do some zemirot, we'll sing, we'll learn some divrei Torah. No, asur, you cannot do like that. Seudah Shlishit you have to have. And also, it requires what? It requires bread. You have to have bread. Don't do mezonot, some cake, some kugel. No, lechatchila, if you have bread, if you have it, we all have Baruch Hashem. We're not poor, so we all have bread, so you should make hamotzi for the shlishit. That's what it says in Shulchan Aruch. So anyway, right, so that shlishit is a mitzvah. So therefore, since it's a seudat mitzvah, or seudat brit milah, or seudat bar mitzvah, right, all kinds of things like this, these are all seudat mitzvah. So therefore, since it's a mitzvah to have these seudot, you're allowed to have it in the Bet Knesset. Seudat mitzvah, you're allowed to eat in the Bet Knesset. This is this halakha. Baruch Adonai le'olam, amen, amen.